Hey, it's May here. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the amount of information and input you're getting? And maybe it's from a feedback session at your end. It could be from attending a conference, maybe even Career Mastery Kickstart, or it could be coming out of a meeting where or an offsite where there are just so many to-do items, and it can just feel so overwhelming to try and figure out what to do first. Maybe not all of them are worth doing, but it feels like you're the only one who's supposed to do all of them right now perfectly. At least that's how I used to feel. Well, if that's something that happens to you too, I wanted to share with you something that I found really has worked for me. And maybe this will help you too. And it's got 5 steps. And the first thing that I like to do is to step back and just let things bubble up. So I might do that by carving out a 10 to 15 minute slot. Maybe it's while I'm walking my dog in the woods. Might just be laying on my nap couch. Yeah, I've got a nap couch. And just letting my mind wander a little bit and figuring out what is it that really stood out for me without looking at anything else, and in just high-level impressions. What made an impression? And then the second step I like to take, and then I jot down those things. The second step I like to take is then to do something intellectual. And that's where I will go through all my notes. And I always recommend taking some notes. And I take a lot of notes. So for me, it takes a little longer to go through all my notes. Maybe for you, it's shorter. But I go through all my notes and review. And what I'm looking for are the things that now, looking at my notes, really jump out at me as being important. Because the first step was really my high-level impressions. What really hit me and what did I feel in the moment that still sticks with me now? And so the second one is really a more rigorous intellectual look. And then I write down those things too, especially helpful to overlay that on top of that first list that I made. Because then you have sort of your heart and your head both going for you. Then the third thing I like to do is to then tell it to somebody else. And it could be anybody. I usually tell it to my husband. And my husband only has attention for 5 to maybe I can stretch it out to 10 minutes. So that step can be really brief. It depends on the other person. And I tell it to him, and then that helps me because when you say something out loud to somebody else, it then gives it more life in the world. And that also gives me a chance, and would give you a chance if you were doing this, to see how it resonates with you when you say it out loud. Does it sound like you're saying that with conviction, with positive energy, with some passion behind it? And that gives you some clues as well as to how important you feel that thing is, how joyful it would be for you to execute on it. And then the fourth step is I take all of those things, and by the way, back on that third step, when you're telling it to someone else, if that someone else is someone that you trust, like a mentor, they might also be able to give you some guidance and give you some feedback on it, so that can be helpful too. So the fourth step is then to take all 3 of those sets of inputs and distill it down to just 2, maybe 3 actionable steps forward that you want to take. Because the reality is we can't work on everything all at the same time and do it all excellently. I know, I've tried. It doesn't work like that. So you take those, distill it down, and block time on your calendar to do those things. And then the 5th and final step is for those 2 or 3 things. I like to take an index card and write down the project name or the action name, then my intention. You know, what does it look like to be successful in that? And maybe sometimes my intention is just to get it done. Other times it's to create an awesome, amazing experience for somebody else, or, you know, whatever it might be. That's if I'm teaching something. And then write down the action steps and really break it down into tiny little steps so that each one of them is easy to implement. So when you're in overwhelm, I suggest that you try these 5 steps. I hope that they work for you, and I'd love to hear what happens when you try them. If you are viewing this from anywhere other than my blog, I invite you to head on over to maybusch.com/blog, and I look forward to welcoming you there. And in the meantime, I invite you to be bold, play big, and spark joy for yourself and everyone around you.